Hello, welcome to Untapped Libraries, the podcast where guests tell us all about their Magic the Gathering besties. Round these parts, people call me Neale.
Around these parts, people call me Vinny.
And how's your Magic life going, Vinny?
Pretty good, considering we both just booked it back from the pre-release for, why am I blanking on the name? What was it called?
Secrets of Strixhaven.
Secrets of Strixhaven. Really stuck in my mind.
For some reason, I can only remember SOS, and then I had to assemble what SOS stood
I had
for.
to work backwards from
Yeah,
it.
we finished the pre-release about an hour ago.
Yeah, and then we drove home to record this podcast. I had a good time. I went 3-0.
It's a great set. I usually am terrible at draft. I did pretty good, and I liked the set.
It was a draft. It's limited. It's sealed.
Oh, right.
It's different from draft.
Yes. Okay. True. I'm not a limited player.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So Vinny, you're an improviser, right?
Yeah, tough. Yes.
So that means if I propose something, you have to say yes.
That's not what that means, but I'll go along with it.
I'm pretty sure that's how improv works.
I don't think there's a law about it, but you can continue.
I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to say no.
No, you
to
definitely
an idea.
have to say no sometimes, but continue.
No, you have to say yes and.
No.
Okay. Well, we agree to disagree.
Sure.
I have a segment idea that I want to pitch to you sort of on the fly.
I'll say yes to it so far.
So, yeah, you say yes to it so far. So I thought maybe what we could do is, because Magic players love to talk about certain cards, that we could pick a card of the week and talk about it.
Okay.
My working title is Untapped Gems.
Yeah. I like this.
So it's something that I thought that we could do.
Great.
I didn't tell you beforehand, so
no, I don't want to. I'm totally blindsided, and I'm happy about it.
So, yeah, the idea would be we pick a card every episode.
Okay. So for this one, it's just you pick a card this episode.
Yeah, it's just me pick a card.
Yeah.
Unless you can think of a card off the top of your head.
I can think of a lot of cards off the top of my head.
But one particularly that's kind of like underappreciated.
Sure.
Or that people may not have heard of.
Okay,
may
got
not
it.
have heard of.
So Untapped Gem.
Untapped Gem. If you have
Great.
a better name,
No, that's a good name.
go for it. I thought it was pretty good.
I yes and it. And I accept it.
Well, you had to.
No, well, we can talk about that later.
Okay, so my Untapped Gem for the week.
Yes.
We can also do this at the end
This
of
is
episodes.
a lot of overhead.
Yeah. Okay, so my Untapped Gem is a card from Commander Legends. It's called Candlekeep Inspiration. It's 4 and a blue for a sorcery that says, until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness X, where X is the number of cards you own in exile or in your graveyard that are instants or sorceries or have an adventure. I did not know about this card.
In exile, in your graveyard, or on an adventure.
Which
are in exile, technically, no?
I believe so, but I guess they want to specify
To really be
so
clear.
people didn't miss it.
Sure. Did you say this is from Legends?
It's from Commander Legends.
Commander Legends. I was like, the original Legends?
Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. Sure. I have a couple decks that this would go into. I did not know about it.
And it makes all your creatures base power XX?
It's currently 16 cents.
Okay. For a blue and 4, it's an enchantment, I take it?
A sorcery.
Oh, so it's only until end of turn?
Until end of turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 16 cents sounds right for that.
You don't think it's I think it's
I mean, it's good.
I have a couple
for
of
a
decks
go wide. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go. It has.
It's like a blue overrun. I could see that.
I mean, even if you have a token deck that's making 1/1s, and you don't play that many instants or sorceries,
sure,
you could still end up with a bunch of 4/4s.
Yeah,
pretty easily.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it doesn't grant any evasion or anything.
No, it just makes them big.
It just makes things big.
Hopefully big. Hopefully.
So if you're going wide, that's great. I hear this.
If you're going tall, it could be bad because it could make your creatures smaller.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bad card to put in that deck. But that's a good one.
That's my.
What's it called? Candlekeep Inspiration.
Candlekeep Inspiration.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know that card at all. It's certainly an untapped gem in my book.
Yep.
That's a pretty good one. I mean, the card that I'm thinking of right away is a card that I don't put in a lot of my decks, and I don't see a lot of people put in their decks, but I think about it all the time, which is High Tide.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 1 blue, all your islands tap for double blue, basically.
That's a great untapped gem.
And I never see it. I don't think I've ever seen it played. I think about, I'm like, oh yeah, if I'd had I don't currently have a blue deck that is like mana hungry, but I can see that, especially in a mono blue deck. I do have a couple mono blue decks, and they could probably go in there. So I don't know why I'm not even just following my own advice.
There's also a black version called Bubbling Muck, which
Oh, that's right.
also could be an untapped gem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why don't I guess it's like a little, it's like a dark ritual basically in the at the right time.
I think maybe the issue with it is people don't play monocolor decks enough.
It is definitely a monocolor. Yeah. Oh, it's true. It only goes for basics too.
Yeah.
Only hits swamps and islands. Unless you have like the double typed, right?
And we just got a couple new
And we've got
lands
some more,
in
I mean, I
SOS.
feel like they're going to keep making double type duels. So I think this is just like in the next like 10 years, like what are the point of basics?
Yep.
Just throw every island swamp that you've got in your Dimir decks.
I love basics. I would love to see a cycle of commander precons that are monocolored.
Yeah.
With new monocolored
payoffs.
payoffs.
Payoffs? Okay. Yeah. I like that. I agree. And maybe you'd even get you to play green.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'll play green as a support color.
If all of your other cards burnt, maybe you would play green.
I don't actually hate green that much. And speaking of which, our guest this week has brought a mono green deck.
I love it.
Which I will try not to dislike.
You're going to eat your vegetables this week, Neale.
Yeah, exactly.
Eat your greens.
Let's say hello to our guest. Our guest is Paige, aka TheMaverickGirl, and we're talking Pauper Elves.
Yeah. Hi, Paige.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. It's funny you all are talking about high tide.
Yes. Oh, yeah?
we just that was a whole thing in Pauper for a little bit there.
Oh, right, until it was banned.
Yeah, we unbanned it for a tiny bit to try it, see how it would work out. Little too much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting for an experiment. So, I'm a big fan of it. I used to play High Tide and Legacy all the time.
Right.
And it was an interesting shot at trying to do something different, but once you started seeing those games, they just take way too long. Right. I would recommend, there was a video with Tolarian Community College, me and Gavin joined on for. If you haven't watched it, you should just go watch it to the end, because the final bit is just Gavin just solitarying High Tide for like 15 minutes. It's great. But it also shows the problems of how the deck functions. Even though he's playing it up, it's still just it was just a little much. Ridiculous. But it's very fun. It was a very interesting experiment, though.
We definitely are coming at it from a commander perspective, which is what we primarily played together. And it doesn't seem to be quite as oppressive, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And, I got a nice set of signed ones in Atlanta last year.
Very nice. That's very cool.
So it was like a play pattern problem more than anything, or it was a power thing?
Much more play pattern. Power was definitely turning into part of the problem, where it was slowly creeping up in the power rankings, where it's like, this is the kind of deck where you'd like it to be like a tier 2 or something like that. Then it has some play to it, but it's not too overbearing. We have those decks already. There's a deck that's somewhat popular called like Cycle Storm, and there's another one that's called Ruby Storm. The name obviously taking inspiration from the modern deck. It's not nearly the same. It's much more of like a creature storm combo deck in a way. But both of them also kind of take a while, but they're not nearly as strong. They're more fragile. They don't usually put up strong results. There's a lot more ways to battle those back, but High Tide was definitely very much of a play pattern experience. It wasn't very fun because then you're just sitting there watching your opponent go off for 10, 15 minutes. An experienced High Tide pilot can play it pretty quickly. The problem is a lot of people playing it aren't always the most experienced with it. And sometimes, God help you if you run into a High Tide mirror match.
Oh, yeah.
I had that happen once at a Legacy Star City Games Open I attended. We were like, why is this round going so long? And there was this huge crowd gathered around this one table. And I go over and you just go, High Tide mirror.
Uh-oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, pack it up. We're done here.
Looking at the Pauper ban list, I see a lot of cards that would be totally busted with High Tide are also banned, like Frantic Search and Cloud of Fairies and Peregrine Drake.
I would actually, before we do that, I would love
Yeah.
to take even a step back and like what is Pauper for people who really don't know what it is.
Pauper is a format made up entirely of commons. But my understanding was that it started on Magic Online by a number of players who wanted to play a format on a budget. Especially because Magic Online can be a little hard to get into if you're not already into it. And the idea was that you just pick up with a bunch of commons. And eventually, Magic Online, when it was still run by Wizards, was eventually picked up, Pauper was picked up as an actual format. So it became a properly sanctioned format. But then it also started getting picked up in paper. But there was some weirdness with that because rarities are different on Magic Online to paper. And at some point, the format was unified. I believe the format legality now is if a card was ever printed at common, in paper, or on Magic Online, it is legal in the format, barring, of course, the ban list.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, and it seems like a great budget way to get into Magic.
Right. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people write it off for commons, but I mean, think about some of the cards we've been talking about here.
Strong. Yeah.
High Tide, Frantic Search, Cloud of Fairies, Peregrine Drake. Those cards all just combo off to go nuts. Obviously, the Initiative was a really powerful mechanic that broke Legacy and had a pretty strong impact in Vintage. That also was largely banned in Pauper because people were setting up like turn 1, turn 2 initiatives. It was very dominant. Gush is a very famous card that's been banned. Daze. It's a who's who of really strong cards. Arkham's Astrolabe has been banned in Modern and Legacy. And I could be wrong on this, but I believe it was banned in Pauper first.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No.
It provided such a homogenous effect.
Right.
At the time, Pauper was pretty dominated by 1 or 2 color decks. And so it just made every deck able to just be soup.
Right.
Everything was playing all the colors.
It's funny, you don't often see multiple cards from Fallen Empires on the same ban list. But you have High Tide and Hymn to Turak, which that makes Hymn to Turak makes a lot of sense.
Correct. And what happened there is Hymn to Turak, High Tide, and Sinkhole were all only ever showed up on Magic Online previously at uncommon or higher. As a result, they were never legal when it was a Magic Online only thing. But when they did the format unification, obviously that brought the paper printings into play. So now those cards would have been suddenly legal. And Wizards decided it was just better if the format just didn't have Sinkhole, Himatorak,
Sinkhole's a crazy card. Was it 2 black? Destroy target land?
Yeah.
There have been mono black land destruction decks in the format before as well. Because then you also have, I'm trying to remember all of the cards. I know there's Icequake and Rancid Earth.
Yes.
Rancid Earth. And both of those are 3 mana, destroy target land. Icequake, I believe, deals a damage
if it's snow covered.
If it's snow covered, and then Rancid Earth is if you have Threshold that deals 1 damage to each creature and player, I believe.
Something like that.
You start adding that in, it just gets very gross.
Yeah, no, not a fun. And with Hymn to Turak, that's not a very fun game to play against.
Right, but what we're describing here is some pretty strong gameplay.
Yeah. So just because it's commons doesn't mean it's all weak cards. There's some bangers in there.
Right, there are some crazy things. Like right now, there is a really strong deck in the format called Spy Combo. It comes and goes on how good it is, but I don't know if how familiar you are with Legacy or discussions around the Legacy format, but a common thing that players have been vocally calling to be banned has been Oops All Spells. Because it just automatically kills you by dumping your entire deck into your graveyard using Balustrade Spy. I think there's one other card in the Legacy builds, Undercity Informer or something like that, I think. Both of those cards, they mill you until you hit a land. Well, if your deck has no lands on the front side, you just flip your deck over and just combo kill your opponent in one shot. Legacy Oops has been called out. I believe Balustrade's Spy was banned in Pioneer because of a lot of this. They now do that in Pauper. You don't run no lands, but you run like 5 lands.
Yeah, I just looked
And
up
then
a list that has 3 forests and 1 swamp, which looks very weird, I gotta say.
You use copies of Land Grant and Sagu Wildling to find your lands. And then once you have a few lands, you use cheap mana dorks. I have this list
Yeah,
up
I see
too.
Generous Ent and Troll of Khazad-dûm, which also fetch lands.
Correct. Also Gatecreeper Vine.
Right, right.
So you have ways that you just find up your lands really quickly. A lot of your creatures are ramp spells, so you're just able to ramp into your big threats. You can either kill your opponent by going in for big attacks with those large creatures, or doing a combo kill with Balustrade Spy, flipping over your deck, sacrificing some creatures to Dread Return, which is another extremely powerful card that's been downshifted into common, by the way.
Common. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was printed at common in Commander Masters. And then you Dread Return up a copy of Lotleth Giant, which deals a point of damage to target player for each creature in your graveyard.
Oh my
Which,
gosh.
if you just flipped your whole deck over, usually should be more than lethal. I think usually you end up with like around 30-ish creatures in your graveyard. So it's a heck of a deck.
Yeah, no kidding.
Lotleth Giant is 6 and a black for a 6/5. You're not paying 7 mana for this usually. And it has, when Lotleth Giant enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target opponent for each creature card in your graveyard. So yeah, great if you're getting off Dread Return for 4 mana.
This feels like a good place to start talking about the deck that you've brought for us today. A bunch of elves? Does it have a title?
You know, it might be called Elves.
Perfect. Yeah, the no notes, because it is what it is. Yeah, so tell us about what this deck is and what's your goals here.
Yeah, so Elves is the deck I would say that I'm best known for. I've been playing Elves for many years. I actually won the only Star City Games Classic, which is like a little 1K event, with Pauper Elves back in 2018.
Very cool.
I've won some Magic Online challenges with it, at least one, and it's a lot of fun. You play a lot of mana dorks and slowly combo out into where you're just decimating your opponents.
Just by number of elves?
Yes, the deck has changed quite a bit. What you used to have was cards like Lysolana Huntmaster, which is 2/2 green for a 3/3 elf warrior that whenever you cast an elf spell, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior token.
Elf make elf?
Yeah, and then you would play other cards too. Elvish Vanguard, 1 green, 1/1. Whenever another elf comes into play, you put a counter on it. And that's not just yours either. A lot of these are symmetrical effects where they impact from both of your opponents.
Those must be crazy. A mirror match must be
Oh yeah.
a lot going on.
If your opponent isn't watching those triggers, you're gonna go nuts. What really makes those crazy though is Well Wisher, which is tap it and you gain 1 life for each elf in play, which is in play. Not, so if both players have that, you just end up in a stalemate.
Right.
Yeah. And you also have Essence Warden, which I didn't realize was an elf, but whenever one of these elves come into play, you gain a life.
Yep.
That can really add up. And I know you don't always want to be gaining life in 1-on-1, but if you're gaining 10 a turn,
right,
that makes it very hard to
way
race.
more than that. If you have, and once you're making all those tokens with Lysolana Huntmaster, and you're doing all of this stuff, especially if there's elves on your opponent's side of the board, you could easily be gaining like 30 plus health a turn.
Wow.
And that's just off of 1 activation. And then you can also untap it with Kieran Ranger, which is 1 green, 1/1 elf, return a forest you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature uses only once per turn.
Right.
And so you can untap your Well Wisher, tap it again, untap it with another Kieran Ranger, tap it again. Hey, you suddenly gained 150 life in a turn.
Right. Okay. And good luck racing against that.
Exactly, and that's why Well-Wishers, personally, it's actually one of my favorite cards of all time, because Elves was such an iconic deck for me when I was like first starting to get like kind of competitive, like Friday Night Magic level competitive. It was such a big deck for me, and Well-Wisher would just gain you so much life that your opponents would actually have a hard time coming back from that. And
Right.
it was a great way of showing here's another way that you can win the game. A good example of this, I would say, is there are certain Tron decks in Pauper. They are very different from your modern builds, from your legacy Cloud Post decks and the like, and they're more control decks. There are some aggressive ones now. Monstertron has been a recent deck that's been popping up more and more, which does the kind of modern thing where you're just spitting out a bunch of big creatures. But previously, what it was for a long time was this control deck called Flickertron, which would do things like you would play like Mnemonic Wall, which is 4 and a blue for a 0/4, I believe, that when it enters the battlefield, you return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. So you could then cast Ghostly Flicker or Ephemerate on it. Both of those flicker a creature and can do it multiple times. And because you have multiple targets for that, you buy back the flicker spell, and then you buy back a like counter spell or a removal spell or something like that, a fog effect, and you just lock down the board until eventually you can do this where you play Din Rovahor, which is 4 blue black 4/4 that when it enters, you return target permanent to its owner's hand, and that player then discards a card.
Oh.
So,
Oh boy.
so eventually they'll just start flickering and just rip away your entire board and do all of that. Well, with Well-Wisher, at some point, you can gain enough life that your opponent cannot beat you. And
Right.
unless they find something in their deck that says target player draws cards, which does happen sometimes, there's a card called Compulsive Research, which allows that. If the Tron deck isn't running one of those abilities, they literally cannot race you. And if they have less cards in their deck, which they probably do because they're drawing a ton of cards, they probably just lose because they'll mill themselves out before they can deal you enough damage to take you down. So it's very interesting just how the angles that you can win with some of these cards. The way the deck used to work was that you would generate a lot of creatures and you would cast Distant Melody, which is 3 and a blue for a sorcery, name a creature type, and draw cards equal to the number of creatures you control of that creature type.
Of that type.
So, if you have like 12 elves on the battlefield to start your turn off, you cast that, you'll draw 12 cards, which then you can just spit out the rest of those cards from your hand.
Pretty
And
sweet.
then, oh, hey, I have got 20 more elves. Oh, I also have another Distant
Right.
Melody in my hand. Let me cast
And
that.
the elves are paying for more elves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And eventually you would just
It's like a pyramid
yeah,
scheme.
you used to just swarm the board. There were ways to just you could either attack with a big creature again using like Elvish Vanguard or Timberwatch Elf, which is 2 and a green, 1/2, tap it to give target creature +X/+X, which is equal
Excellent
to the
number of
number of
elves.
elves on the battlefield. Again, one of those symmetrical
Right.
ones.
And so if you attack with 6 creatures, you just wait until they declare blocks and then pump one up super big.
Yes.
And
Which you could do then with, again, untap with Kieran Ranger and tap it again, and you just
right.
you just
Okay.
have this huge
Do
threat.
another one. Oh, this is really fun. So you're talking about the strengths of the deck. What are the weaknesses of the deck?
The simple weakness is the board wipes.
Right.
The wrath.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pauper doesn't have very much by way of like your traditional Wrath of God, Day of Judgment
Right.
sort of things. Those just don't exist really at common. What you have instead are a lot of like deal 1 or 2 points of damage
Right.
to each
Okay,
creature.
Yes.
Which is enough for this deck.
Correct. Previously, back in the day, cards like Electrickery was a big one,
Yeah.
which is
and the festivities, I think, is a current one, a more current one.
and even then, and the festivities isn't seeing as much play these days as it used to. It was seeing a ton of play previously because of Kadaltha Rebirth,
Oh yeah.
Mono red is actually one of Elves' worst matchups, and always
Right.
has been. Always has been.
Hmm.
But like Mono Red Rally is another good one where it's a lot of the creatures in that have like 2 toughness, but you're also playing things like Rally at the Hornburg, which makes 2 1/1s, and then gives them haste, and so you just attack very rapidly with a bunch of small creatures. That gives you a way to fight back against those. Same with fairies,
Hmm.
where you have Spell Stutter Sprite, Fairy Seer. The deck would also previously run a 1/1 for 1 called Fairy Miscreant. And so you could just
Hmm.
like End the Festivities just wipes out all of those, and it just acts as a
Right.
big board wipe. And so End the Festivities is much better than Electrickery these days, but there's even better ones because recently Pauper's been seeing a lot of like deal 2 damage.
Ah, okay. And that really gets rid of this
Correct.
deck.
We got Breath Weapon, which is 3
Oh,
mana,
yeah.
deal 2 damage to each non-dragon at instant speed. There's Fiery Cannonade, which is the same thing except it deals 2 to every non-pirate. Breath
Oh.
Weapon is more played because there are some relevant pirates in the format, whereas there's not really any relevant dragons.
Dragons.
There's also Arms of Hadar, which is 3 in a black instant. Creatures target player controls get -2/-2 until end of turn.
Oh yeah.
And Drown in Sorrow was also reprinted at common, so the format has that too.
Wow.
1 black. All creatures get -2/-2. I believe Scry 1, Scry 2.
Scry one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the cards you kind of got to watch out for when you're playing.
Right.
these.
It's some of them are very difficult. The worst though, the worst one by a tremendous amount is Quarkland Shaman.
Yeah. I don't know this one. I always like it when shows have a lot of cards I don't know. I feel like it means we.
We're learning something.
And I know you all are more Commander fans. You might actually like this for Commander. It's a pretty nasty little board wipe card.
It was Clark
Clan Shaman. And
Easy to say.
Yeah. Rural Juror.
Quark Clan Shaman is 1 red, 1/1 Goblin Shaman that you sacrifice an artifact and it deals 1 damage to each creature without flying.
Oh, that's pretty
Oh,
awesome.
that is pretty
So
good.
what
Like a
you
little
can-
mini earthquake.
What you can do is sacrifice it, hold priority, and sacrifice something else. And you can stack
I
the
see.
ability as many times as you need to wipe out the board.
Wait, it's not tapped sacrifice.
Correct.
It's
No.
just sacrifice.
Just sacrifice.
So
Aha.
the shaman will die when it resolves, but you can
Right,
stack
right,
as
right.
many
It's like
as
rocket
you have
launcher.
artifacts.
Yes. So what makes it so deadly is if you do something for like one of the, board pump effects that exist or mass regeneration effects, like Rapid Vigor is 1 in a green to regenerate each creature you control. Well, okay, you put that on the stack, and then your opponent just sacrifices another artifact.
Right.
So it's just very, very difficult to get around and beat as a threat in Pauper. Because, like I said, Rapid Vigor can stop Breath Weapon, End the Festivities, Fiery Cannonade, Electrickery. I played that card for years because it was just a good tool to have in your toolbox. It just does nothing against Quarkline Shaman. You just die against Quarkline Shaman.
You just, all right, well, I got nothing now. So this deck is generating a bunch of elves. What's the win condition here? How are you finishing people off?
Well, obviously, I mentioned previously, your big threat is classically your big threat was Timberwatch Elf, which that's the 2 in a green, 1/2, tap it,
+X.
yeah, +X to target creature equal to the number of elves in play.
Right.
However, problem with Timberwatch Elf itself, it's only a 1/2. It's kind of fragile.
Right.
A lightning bolt
Yeah.
kills it. Cast down kills it. That's 1 in a black, destroy target non-legendary creature, which up until recently there wasn't very many playable legendary commons.
Oh yeah, almost none.
Yeah.
We got a new one though in Strixhaven
We got in a few recently.
that shares a name with
Yeah.
you actually.
Yeah. Well, it was really funny. I went to pre-release myself yesterday. The tournament organizer, the person who runs the local shop on Fridays, is also named Paige. So you've got two,
Oh.
you've got 2 pages, and now you're also having people cast a card named Paige. And we're like, this is
Yeah,
not
and
going to cause
multiple
any.
pages in my page deck.
I mean, it worked great for Grandeur.
Yeah, so I'm like, this is
You want more pages as possible.
this isn't going to cause any problems, surely. So Cast Down kills it. Snuff Out kills it, which is just a free kill spell, basically. If you control, I think it's if you control Swamp, you can pay 4 mana.
Snuff Out is common? That's
yes, it's common. It was originally common in Mercadian Masks. Yep.
Man, I wanted to pick one up, but I'm always like, whatever. It's like $15.
And a large reason for that is because of Pauper. Because it's a huge player in that format. It jumped a few years ago because of Legacy, when Death Shadow started showing up in Legacy, because it was just a great way to lower your life total while killing a creature. Great. And then pre-modern as well. And I would hazard a guess that also CEDH helped it too, because it's just a free kill spell.
It's a great card. In
so it's just that card's been shooting up. But Timberwatch Elf was very fragile, which always was a big hindrance for the stack. Sometimes you could just get there by spitting out a ton of creatures, but even that, again, it's fragile to a board wipe. You would often win a lot of your game ones, but then you'd really struggle in your post board,
right?
Because your opponent would just have a lot of removal and a lot of board wipes. So the deck has changed quite a bit. What I provided was my winning deck list from 2018 and the most recent list that won Pauper Get In.
Yeah. Went 14-2-1.
Yeah, that's a pretty good record.
And had some pretty wild matchups. The finals match was I apologize. I just have the person's Melee name in front of me. I don't have the actual name. I apologize. I do know that it was Elves versus Affinity in the finals. Affinity, as you could probably guess, is the deck that Clan Shaman is most frequently used in. Affinity can be a rough matchup because of that interaction. And so it was a very interesting and engaging set of games to watch. But what this deck has now is a wider range of high-end threats.
Yeah.
So what the deck has turned into is it's less all in on Elves. It's still called Elves because most of your creatures in your deck still are Elves. They're, your mana dorks, Elvish Mystic, Finhorn Elves, Llanowar Elves, all of those. They're just 1 mana, tap for a green. And then you have Priest of Titania, which is just 2 mana, 1/1 that taps for a mana for every elf in play. So you're playing a bunch of mana dorks. You're playing your Timberwatch Elves. You're playing Kirin Ranger, which we've been talking about those all show. And that's like your core Elves build. Then, though, what it also started running was Masked Vandal, which also happens to be an elf. It's a changeling that is a 1/3 for 1 and a green. When it enters, if you have a creature in your graveyard, you can exile it and exile target artifact or enchantment. That helps against decks like Affinity, where you can either kill a major threat that's on the board, or because a lot of those decks also run indestructible artifact dual lands, you can then exile their lands. So it gives you some interesting interaction there that it didn't previously have.
And it's an elf, so it does combo, or it synergizes with Priest of Titania and
Timberwatch.
Correct. And what's better is the card Generous Ent, which is 5 and a green, 5/7 tree folk with reach, and when it enters, you make a food token. What's really good about it, though, is it has Forest Cycling 1. We haven't talked about this yet, but Elves historically has only ever run like 13 or 14 lands. Some players run land grant so that they can play less lands. I'm going to say right now, as a historical authority on Elves, please don't play land grant. I'm very known for saying this, but please don't play land grant. The reason people play land grant is they say, well, it doesn't matter because I'm just going to dump my hand anyway. The problem is to play land grants for free, because it's normally 1 and a green, and you search your deck for a forest and put it in your hand. The way to cast it for free is to have no lands in your hand and reveal your hand. And by revealing your hand, you're telling your opponent exactly what you have.
Right.
they can probably figure out what order you're planning on playing things, and they
Right.
can just shut it
They
down.
can do it.
So I don't
Yeah.
like to recommend. I tell people
That's a lot of information.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's probably better in a more casual setting.
Yeah, and obviously the certain combo decks, the spy combo that we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
does run land grant because you're only running 5 lands, so you do actually need to max out on ways to find
Right.
those lands. What makes that so good then with Generosent is you can forest cycle it, find your forest, and oh, hey, now you got a creature in your graveyard, and now you can just pitch that to
Exile.
your Mass Vandal. So it
Yeah.
provides a really strong 1-2 punch in those early turns to, take out a major threat. The other side of that, though, is, hey, maybe you've just gone way deep into the game and you just have this 5/7 in your hand, and you can just put it on the battlefield.
Plop
It's
them out.
huge.
Yeah.
And same with the other two threats that have come up with the deck are Avenging Hunter.
Yeah, that one stood out to me a lot when I looked at the list.
It's 4 and a green for a 5/4 trample, and when it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Which we were just talking about how
what's
good
the-
initiative is.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing in the initiative is get a land.
Yeah, you go and get a land, and then I've got the a giant oversized version of the Undercity on my desk, and I'm trying to find it.
Nice.
You go and get your basic land, and then you can put 2 +1/+1 counters on something. You deal 5 damage to your opponent upstairs. You draw a card, and then you get your to like pull a creature out of your deck off like the top.
Yeah. Off the top 10. Yeah.
Okay, you get a little elf, but yeah.
But he gets big.
Yeah.
He gets
He'll get
he gets
big.
+3/+3. I
yeah.
think.
And sometimes you can shift from that plan if like you really need to. Like let's say you don't have a board. Okay, you don't really have anything to pump. Okay, maybe it is a little better to try to find something,
Yeah.
and then to like make a 4/1 skeleton.
Sure. But also, it's a 5/4 trample. That's not
Yeah.
nothing.
Right. Well, it's a 5/4 trample
And-
that becomes a 7/6 trample, and then
Yes.
deals
Yeah.
5 damage upstairs the next turn.
Yeah. And if you've got a Timberwatch elf, big threat. And he's a dragon, so eat it, Dragon Breath. Got nothing.
Yeah. Breath weapon doesn't really.
Oh, breath
impact it.
weapon.
Yep.
That's it.
And which also, for the record, also doesn't impact Masked Vandal because that's a changeling.
Oh, interesting.
And the other big threat too is Nyxborn Hydra, which is
Right.
X into green for 0/1, enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it.
Yep.
But it also has Bestow, where you can make an aura instead for X green. The enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Nyxborn Hydra, and that creature also has trample.
Yep.
And if the creature dies, the
You just
next
get a
one high-
trampler.
Yeah, you get a big
Yeah,
creature.
it's got a huge creature. What makes that so good, though, is if you just have a ton of mana from all your elves, and you're
Which you usually do.
Yeah.
especially if you have Priest of Titania, and then can untap your Priest of Titania with Kieran Ranger.
Right. Okay.
Nyxborn Hydra has
we're-
earned the nickname the Green Fireball.
Right, because you can put it on a creature without summoning sickness.
Yep.
And
And then just like
You're
hit
blasting
your
through.
opponent for like 20 damage.
It gives it trample, so even he doesn't even need to have trample on its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
So it's such a, what's happened is it went from playing a ton of small threats to going a little more all in on playing bigger threats.
Yeah.
And also the other thing too, you might have picked up before that I said Distant Melody, which is a blue card for this green deck.
Yeah.
You used to
Right.
have cards called like Birchlore Rangers and Jaspera Sentinel. Both of those allow you to tap 2 creatures, essentially. They're a little different. Birchlore Rangers lets you tap 2 elves, period, and generate 1 color of mana. Jaspera Sentinel is tap it and 1 other creature. Doesn't necessarily have to be an elf.
I have an interjected question. Have you ever morphed a Birchlore Ranger in your entire playing career?
Yes, and it is relevant.
Nice.
Because there are a couple of cards. The Circle of Protections are in the format. Occasionally,
Colorless.
occasionally they do show up. Not
Oh, that's
often, but
really
sometimes they do, and that provides you a way to get around that. The more relevant card, though, is Prismatic Strands, which is
Right.
a fog for a single color. So when you cast it, you choose a color. All damage from sources of that color are prevented that turn. So
Okay.
by having a morphed Birchlore Rangers, it is colorless. They can't assign anything to it.
Right.
There was also the card back in the day. It still shows up sometimes. Guardian of the Guild Pact, which is protection from monocolor. And a lot of decks would play that in conjunction with Pestilence, because the Guardian wouldn't take damage from the Pestilence.
Well, that's
so your
nice.
Pestilence just stays on the battlefield.
Right.
And so Birchlore Rangers, when you morph it, would provide a way to get through the Guardian, or even just block the Guardian, because sometimes you really can't get a good attack through, but they would just attack you with the Guardian instead. So having morph Birchlore Rangers gives you a way to kind of fight back against that a little bit. But the key thing is, a lot of these decks previously used to use Birchlore Rangers and Jaspera Sentinel to be able to cast Distant Melody, but they would also let you use sideboard options. So you could board in counter magic if you wanted to.
Well, this is a good segue into your sideboard. So you've got some interesting choices here. Why did you pick these, and like what was the thinking behind them?
From like the older 2018 list?
For the 2026 one.
Oh, the new one.
The new one.
So Viridian Longbow. So remember how before I mentioned, like, if you get into an Elves mirror, you can just kind of stonewall each other? This list that one Pauper getting doesn't play the Well-Wisher, but if you both have a Well-Wisher, you just get stuck.
Right.
So what Viridian Longbow is it's a good mirror breaker. It is 1 mana, equipped for 3. Equipped creature has tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player, or any target, I should say now.
Give it Tim.
Legolas size.
Yeah. So this card was great back in like Mirrodin block, because this was from Mirrodin originally. So Elves was a deck back then, and Well-Wisher was a card back then too. So this would be a good mirror breaker. Even now, it's a good mirror breaker because it allows you to pick off your opponent's Elves. But it also allows, and it's not hard to move around when you have a Priest of Titania that makes 10, 15 mana a turn.
Right.
So,
and with Querying Ranger, you can always untap it one more time if
what
you need
you
it.
used to do was you used to put it onto a Nettle Sentinel, which is a 1 mana 2/2, doesn't untap during your untap step, but when you cast a green spell, it untaps. So you would put the Longbow onto Nettle Sentinel, deal a damage, cast a elf, untap it, do it again. And if you had enough mana and enough card draw with Distant Melody, you could just machine gun your opponent.
Right.
And but it helps against things like those mono red rally decks, because there's so much little 1/1s. You're probably gonna have a bad time against that deck anyway, but it can help against those situations by picking off the small creatures. Same with fairies, because again, fairies is a bunch of small creatures, so it just lets you pick off the threats. It's not as good against like Affinity, where you're just running into like a mirror enforcer.
Big things. Yeah, you're not gonna do anything with that.
Right, but it's helpful for stuff like that. It's also helpful against things like Tron or Turbo Fog. The old Flickertron lists were basically kind of a Turbo Fog list in a way, but you know, there are actual Turbo Fog decks now. They've always kind of popped up from time to time, but well, you can't attack through those, so you need to find an alternate way to win. Viridian Longbow provides that. The lists that have previously run the Birchlore Rangers and Jaspera Sentinel for the off-color activations used to also let you play, the classic one was Mob Justice, which is 1 in a red, sorcery, deal damage to target player equal to the number of creatures you control. I never liked that, because then people could just do things like either counter it or use Prismatic Strands in response and just stop it. Well, then what I found was instant versions like Massive Raid, which is the same thing but at instant speed for 1 and 2 red, which if you're using Birchlore Rangers, an extra red isn't really an issue.
Yeah.
And then I also found Harsh Sustenance, which is the same thing for 1 black and white, which not only does it deal the damage, but you gain the life. Which then, hey, this card suddenly is actually good to playing in against like burn decks, because now you can use it to deal some damage and stop you from dying really quickly, because a lot of times burn decks, the older ones at least, would just fizzle out. They would run out of cards, and if you're not dead, then okay, the game's still going. Then next we have Monstrous Emergence, which is 1 in a green. As additional cost, you can reveal a creature from your hand, or you choose one from the battlefield. And the Monstrous Emergence deals damage equal to target creature, equal to
the power of the creature you chose, or the card you revealed to target creature. A little confusing. Yeah. Also, if you like tongues, this card has a lot of them in the art.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like tongue. Who doesn't love tongues on card art? Yeah.
Who doesn't love 6 tongues?
Yeah.
We love Duskmorn.
That's a Monstrous Emergence. Yeah.
But so that's great because it lets you deal with powerful threats. Obviously, you are trying to ramp out a lot of your big creatures. But for those early turns, they can be stuck in your hand for a little bit, especially if your opponent's using a lot of removal, a lot of board wipes. So it gives you a way to utilize the cards that are in your hand, essentially.
And I assume a lot of the time that's the Avenging Hunter or the Generous Ant.
Yes.
Your big boys.
Yes, and that helps you deal with cards like Mirror Enforcer, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
Or your opponent's Avenging Hunter, which then you can now get in with your small creature, take the initiative, and you're back in business.
Right.
The next thing then is Vitu-Ghazi Inspector. I keep wanting to say Investigator.
Inspector. Yeah, one of the many detectives from Markov-Karlov Manor.
Yeah.
And it's a little puzzling. I don't understand this inclusion at first, so I'm curious to hear what it's doing.
So even for me, I think this is a weirdo.
Okay.
I've always looked at this card as kind of funny, but it makes sense. It's weird that it makes sense, but it makes sense. So your worst matchup is Mono Red Burn, Mono Red Madness, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple different red decks in the format that are very aggressive, very brutal on your life total. But historically what they would do is they would shoot a bunch of burn spells at your face. Well, the thing is, since they're playing so many burn spells, they can just shoot those at your creatures instead. And play a control game until you are out of the picture, and then they start shooting it up at you. That versatility has always made mono red decks pretty difficult to deal with. Vitu-Ghazi Inspector gives you a ton of life, makes it harder for them to take out your creatures because
got a big butt.
Because it blocks pretty well on its own, and then if you
has reach,
if you can put a counter onto it, hey, now you can't bolt it anymore. You can't cast a lightning bolt on it and it dies. But the other thing is, there are a lot of powerful flyers.
Yeah.
Sneaky Snacker shows up in a lot of those things. Sneaky Snacker is a 2/1 for blue and a black. It's a fairy rogue, flying. But when you draw your third card in a turn, you return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
All right.
And so because you have things like Brainstorm, that's made this card really good. But what people started realizing you could do is you could go with cards like Demand Answers and Grab the Prize, which let you discard a card to draw 2 cards.
Right, so that's giving you 3. Yeah.
Right, so that's your third card, and it just brings it back. And Grab the Prize deals 2 damage when it does that as well. So Grab the Prize has become a pretty, rough card to deal with.
I was also like, wow, how do you collect Evidence 6? And I was like, wait, Generous Ant.
Yes.
You just 4 cycle, boom, you got
Generous Ant does it, again, that your opponents are wiping out so many of your threats a lot of times that you'll just naturally go into that. If you cast a Winding Way and find other copies of Winding Way or Lead the Stampede, those aren't creatures for the Winding Way. Winding Way is 1 and a green. I never talked about these. We'll get to these momentarily, but Winding Way is 1 and a green sorcery. Choose creature or land, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all cards of the chosen type into your hand, the rest go into your graveyard.
So like a great card draw for
great.
And Lead the Stampede is similar. It's 2 and a green sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal any number of creatures among them and put them into your hand. So both of these are great ways to refill your hand, and especially if you get board wiped, you draw one of these, you can then suddenly have...
You're back in the
game.
game.
You suddenly...
And they're both 4s.
You suddenly draw like 3 or 4 copies of them. if you go Winding Way, you find 2 creatures. Oh, and I also found 2 Lead the Stampedes. They go into the graveyard, and now you're collecting evidence for 6. Or you just do it with 1, I guess, and you put a Winding Way in there, plus a creature gets wiped out. So it's a lot easier to set that up than you think. And there are a lot of relevant creatures to that you want to block, and the life gain plus the power boost. It doesn't seem like much, but it's a
But
perfect
it's just enough sometimes
right.
to put it
It's
out of reach.
just the perfect foil for a good chunk of the metagame, which that makes for an
Nice.
interesting metagame call. I think it's a weird card, and not the
Yeah.
card I would have pegged to be a viable option, but it just does enough that it's good enough.
I actually want to go through the last 2 cards in the sideboard because they're, to me, the weirdest.
Oh, okay. We
Just
can cut that out.
really,
Go for
really
it.
quickly.
Yeah, really quickly.
So the last 2 cards of the sideboard is Fairy Macabre, which does make sense. I assume you never.
Yeah, it's a
never
black
cast
one
this.
fairy. Yeah, you're never casting. You're just going to discard it to some graveyard hate for sure.
And then the last one is a Ninja Turtles card that I did not expect to see at all, which is Primordial Pachyderm, a 4-mana 4/4 reach trample, and when it enters, you gain 2 life. I see the utility of it. I guess that maybe I'm just used to higher end threats.
So-
like maybe that's part of the metagame of Pauper compared to other formats.
So Fairy Macabre obviously makes sense for a couple reasons. You want it for the spy combo deck that we were talking about before, because then you can,
right,
as they target the Lotleth Giant, you can then target it with your Fairy Macabre, and it's gone.
And it's 0 mana instant speed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Correct. Honestly, I haven't played Elves very much recently. Recently, I've been playing a lot of Spy combo, Mono Blue Terror, which plays, it's Tolarian Terror, Cryptic Serpent, play a lot of small spells, so you cast those cards very quickly. And I've been playing, and also a lot of Bogles, which is Aura's dot deck, basically. And so I've been playing a lot of those, not as much Elves, funny enough.
Right.
So I haven't actually had an opportunity to play Primordial Pachyderm. To me, that seems like a weird choice as well.
Okay. This is funny. My take on this deck the first time I saw it is seeing all these amazing mana dorks that can make so much mana, and then high-end payoffs that are like fine, but not what you would see in other formats. Like it sort of felt like putting rocket fuel in like a PT Cruiser or something like that. Like so much gas, but the payoffs, at least compared to standard or commander, feel a little less strong.
Yeah. But I mean, works on a lot of these formats. So like obviously I mentioned that Tolarian Terror deck. Well, Pauper has cards like Ponder, Preordain, and Brainstorm. And you can play all of those. And Brainstorm got a lot better because of all of these land cyclers. So you use Lorien Revealed, which then shuffles it. Or it's Draw 3, which, oh, by the way, if you paid the 1 to land cycle it, now you have another sorcery in your graveyard. And you're also playing Thought Scour and Mental Note, which put more cards in your graveyard. So your Tolarian Terrors come down very quickly and for only 1 mana.
Right.
But, even that has enough power that you do see it in Standard sometimes.
Yeah,
Eddie Merc Crab has been a big card in Standard recently. It's very interesting just how powerful these cards can be and how intense the threats can be. And then again, some of these threats don't seem that big, but again, Avenging Hunter has the initiative, and the initiative has proven to be bonkers strong in 1v1 formats. 4 of the common initiative cards are banned in Pauper.
Yep.
Initiative was so strong it led to White Plume Adventure getting banned in Legacy, which that's Legacy. It's really hard to get something banned in Legacy.
Yeah, I don't even understand enough about those formats to understand some of those bannings. Some of those bannings to me seem crazy.
Excessive.
Yeah. And then even in Cube, most cubes don't run the initiative cards either because it's the same thing. They're too good, especially if you're just putting a couple of them in there. A random uncommon spell is just good enough just if it gives you the initiative, just because the effects of the initiative are so strong in 1v1 formats.
Yeah.
It was really intense.
This is really neat.
Yeah.
We should start wrapping it up.
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts about the future of Pauper and where things are going based on what Wizards is doing?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting time for Pauper. A lot of Pauper historically has gotten a lot of its power from things like master sets, where cards get downshifted. Unfortunately, this year there are only standard legal sets, and Wizards has also announced that next year is also only standard legal sets.
Yeah.
So it's a question mark on how new cards are going to show up, but even then, for all people complain that standard doesn't really have that much impact, we just got the common Leonardo card in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which provides a huge threat for mono white aggro decks, white weenies, and has made that deck substantially more viable. The Madness decks and Burn decks got so much more strong because they were getting cards like Grab the Prize, Demand Answers, and such like that in standard. Kessig Flame Breather was another one of those pinger spells that came through standard. Even though there are a number of cards that have come through, master sets, Sneaky Snacker was Modern Horizons, for example. There's still just a lot of stuff that's come through where you can just have some really powerful stuff. But more interestingly, I think, is just how much growth the format has been seeing lately.
Yeah.
Obviously, the deck that I chose to, kind of highlight here was the Pauper Elves list. I wanted to kind of highlight the older ones versus the new one, because it's changed quite a bit over the years. But the new one was at Paupergeddon. I don't know if you all are familiar with Paupergeddon. It is an event that's held in Italy multiple times a year and gets roughly 1,000 players playing Pauper.
Amazing.
It brings in tons of players, tons of people, and it's inspiring a lot of other places to try to make Pauper bigger as well. There is a U.S. Nationals being held in, I believe, July, with a 200-player cap, roughly. I think it's a little less. I think it's a bit less than that, like 100, somewhere between 160 and 180, I think. They're really trying to make that a new thing. Well, since it's the first event, there's only so many, but their goal is to go up to that higher number. I live in upstate New York. There is an upstate New York Pauper Open that happens a couple times a year. We get about 60 players each time, and they're trying to increase that number on the next event, I believe. There's all kinds of events where they're trying to increase the amount of Pauper being played. The Pauper Cups happen at all of these Magic Con events. So it feels like, before the pandemic, Pauper was having a big moment. And then the pandemic just kind of put everything to a halt.
Yeah.
But now that we're kind of past that, Pauper's had more opportunities to grow and get some recent publicity. And I really think that it is having another moment, and it is really doing well. It's going to be very interesting to see, but I think Pauper's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Is there a chance that it grows to the point where the cards become too expensive, therefore sort of undoing some of the goal of the format
Pauper,
to have like a cheap-ish format?
So that's actually a problem on Magic Online, where the decks online, because it's such a heavily played format online, for example, certain builds of the mono red decks or the mono blue Tolarian Terror decks need the blasts.
Oh, yeah.
The Tolarian Terror decks in particular, I believe, tend to play up to sometimes all 8 of Blue Elemental Blast and Hydro Blast, which are counter a red spell or destroy a red permanent.
Right.
They're slightly different, but they're basically the same. Each of those goes for like 10 to 20 tickets, 10 to 20 US dollars.
Right.
So it's
that's all.
Yeah, but the difference with Magic Online is once you have those cards, they're expensive on the front end, but you only ever need one playset for Magic Online to cover all of your decks. So once you have your playsets, you're then able to just play all of the other decks. But even in paper, we're starting to see this a little bit. Avenging Hunter was in the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. Paper copies in the US, at least, are like $5 each.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's getting pretty pricey.
Yeah, it's starting to get up there a little bit.
We're gonna need to start a new Pauper, like $10 Pauper deck list.
Jill, the most expensive card in Pauper, Slashing Tiger from from Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Yeah, those don't count.
$70. Yeah, just I don't think anyone's playing this one.
Amazing. Any final thoughts you want to share with us on Pauper that we didn't get to?
The biggest takeaway that I want to recommend to players is that just because it's a format of commons, I promise you the gameplay is way better than you think it is. There are some really strong things that you could do in this format. It gets the name the nickname Legacy Light. I don't think that's really appropriate for the format, but you can see some of the analogs to it. The thing before was, hey, we're talking about elves as the main thing. Elves is a real archetype in Legacy. So a lot of people attribute it's Legacy Light. I don't like to use that term. I don't think it's quite where you want to call it. But there's similarities, to be sure. And the gameplay is very interactive. It's very interesting. There are some really powerful things you could do. It's affordable, and it is a great way to get players into the game. Like if you can start, pick up a few decks. Like me personally, I have, I think, 12 or 13 paper decks.
Okay.
I can easily put together more out of my collection. I just haven't bothered to do so. I believe the total when I looked it up is like little over $1,000 for all of that.
Yeah.
But again, that's like 12 decks.
12 decks. Yeah. That's not nothing. Yeah.
And the number that I came up with, I think, was $1,200 for mine total. But that also includes the fact that I'm running specialty versions of cards. Like my Lightning Bolt are borderless, full art, textless ones from
I mean, it seems like a format where the sleeves are a big part of your budget.
Right. So, but I'm going for like the cooler versions.
Sure.
But if you want to play just like basic versions of a lot of these cards, you could pick up like 10 Pauper decks for the price of a modern deck or a souped up commander deck. It's so easy to just put together a box of like multiple decks, bring them to a local shop, and say to people, hey, you want to try this format out? There's cool things you could do in it. What deck do you like to play? Here's a good thing that you could try. Do you like playing a ramp deck? Here you go. Here's Elves. Do you like Elves? Here's Elves. Do you like Burn? Do you like playing like Monastery Swiftspear, which is banned in Pauper, by the way?
Yeah.
But if you like playing that style of deck, hey, here's an archetype for you. You can play it. It's really accessible, but once you really get into it, there are some wild things that you can do with this format.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us today and telling us all about Pauper. I like having known very little about it. I feel like I got a really great overview. So thank you for being a great ambassador for Pauper.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I never told anybody this, but before I got into playing Arena, when I came back from Magic from my break,
big secret.
I actually started brewing a Pauper deck. Online as a way to like get into the format without spending much money, and I never actually built it, but it was actually the first thing that got me into Magic, that led to me playing Arena, which led to me playing Commander, which led to me being on this podcast.
Amazing.
Which that's kind of what happened to me. I used to actively play Legacy, Modern, stuff like that. Sold my stuff out to cover some medical costs. Because of that, I tried to get back into the format and realized, oh wait, now I have bills. I'm out of college. I have to actually, take care of myself. So I don't have a lot of money to spend on this game anymore. Pauper's right there.
Yeah.
They had just put it on Magic Online with leagues at the time, so I started picking it up and tried it, and I never looked back.
Amazing.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing this all with us.
Thanks for having me, and I really hope that this encourages people to try the format. It's really fun. Sure. I promise.
So where can people reach you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at TheMaverickGirl, or you can go check out my articles. I write articles on CoolStuffInc.com multiple times a week. These range from everything from a lot of Pauper, Commander. I do a lot of news coverage for the site. If you could think about it, I've written pretty close to 800 articles with Cool Stuff now. I have multiple going up a week. If there's a topic that you're looking for, chances are I've probably covered it in some capacity.
Well, okay,
cool.
A lot of stuff to go ahead and check out and read. So I encourage you to check that out.
Thanks so much.
All right, that was a great little episode. Yeah. And we learned a lot about Pauper.
I knew very little going into this, so I feel like I'm in the zone.
My information was from 2019-ish or 2020
about
when
Pauper.
I started,
when you were looking at it, right?
And I really love the card Spear Spewer. It's such a janky little card, and I like wanted to build a deck around it, but I never actually built it in paper. Maybe I should do that.
Maybe now you get a chance to explore some Pauper. I just love the fact that there's like a really accessible format for people, because so many of these formats are like, oh, you need 4 of this $50 card? That's really fun. That's nice for everybody.
Yeah, you want to start a modern deck, you gotta even just the fetches and shocks are gonna run you a ridiculous amount.
So I think finding ways to keep Magic accessible is always a good thing.
Yeah, and having constraints.
It really does force some creativity, and this sounds like a really fun, creative space to explore too.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Vinny, do you want to
lead us out?
Yeah, let's land this plane.
Let's land the plane.
Let's
land the train. Yeah, land the train is the expression.
Let's
land the train.
This boat.
Let's land this train on a boat. You can find us on Blue Sky and YouTube as Untapped Libraries, as well as Moxfield, where all of our guest deck lists are available. Our music is by Sparkling Water, and you can find all of their music wherever you get your streams. Untapped Libraries is a proud part of the Podcavern Network, found at podcavern.com. If you have any questions, comments, or commons, we can be reached at untappedlibraries@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and keep building!
Have you ever seen those lists on the internet that's like top 5 sandwich toppings, top 5 movies of the year, top 5 celebrities who have a very punchable face? You know what I'm talking about. The point is, all these lists drive us crazy because we have no idea who made them and how they even narrowed down their top 5 list. That's where my podcast comes in. My name is Tung La, and I am the host of Ranked, top 5 lists of stuff that don't matter. In every episode, with the help of a motley crew of self-proclaimed experts, we debate, battle, and work together, showing you the entire process of how we got there, to create a top 5 list of any and every topic we can think of, like top 5 brunch menu items, top 5 fictional dogs, top 5 90s songs, top 5 Steves? The list goes on, and we will not rest till we rank basically everything. So join us every second Thursday in the Podcavern for Ranked, top 5 lists of stuff that don't matter.
Top 5, top 5, top 5.